With that in mind, let me go ahead and introduce our final presenter. Dr. Shelley Spessard is an educational leader and advocate for inclusivity, access, and family engagement in the education system globally. As the founder of EduAvocate Consulting LLC, EduAvocate or EduAvocate?
EduAvocate.
EduAvocate. All right. Consulting LLC and an adjunct professor at Westcliff University. She specializes in strategic planning, curriculum development, and researching innovative uses of AI and technology in the classroom, promoting equitable and inclusive educational environments worldwide. So sit back and relax for her introduction entitled Opening Doors for Students, How OpenAI Enhances Educational Opportunities. Dr. Spessard, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gray, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening. It's such a pleasure to be here alongside you at Westcliff University's 8th Annual Symposium of Applied Research. I want to thank all of you for attending today and contributing to this highly coveted and much needed field of research. My name is Dr. Shelley Spessard, and I've served in the field of education for over 19 years. Most recently, I left the world of public education, where I served as the Director of Student Achievement and Support for a nearby school district in Orange County. Currently, as Dr. Gray mentioned, I have the pleasure of serving as the founder of EduAvocate and as an adjunct professor for Westcliff University, teaching both in the with doctoral students and undergraduate students, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So this evening, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to present one of my passion projects, Opening Doors for Students, How AI Enhances Educational Opportunities. Now, more than ever, our students need us to step up and rethink education. If the pandemic has affirmed anything, there is no denying that this system we've relied on was built for a different era, a world that no longer exists. Today, students must be prepared to thrive in a global society driven by rapid change and cutting-edge technology. To do this, we must embrace our cultural differences and recognize that language should connect us, not divide us. It's time to think globally, to harness the power of AI, and to create learning environments that are personalized, inclusive, and dynamic. AI isn't just a tool. It's a game changer, enabling us to connect students across cultures and equip them with the skills they need to excel in a world where technology drives innovation. Today, I'll be focusing on students in higher education settings, including those in dual enrollment programs. The pandemic taught us a critical lesson that we must make those significant adjustments to our current educational practices to ensure that we're truly prepared for our students and for their future and careers. In a world of 7,000 languages and countless cultural contexts, how can AI truly meet the needs of students in higher education whose mother tongue is not English? As an educator, I've spent countless hours researching inclusive teaching practices, desperately searching for ways to connect with students who are new to English, particularly as a monolingual speaker myself. The linguistic and cultural barriers often seem insurmountable, preventing so many students and their families from fully engaging in their education. To think that there is a new solution in an AI-driven tool that can help break down those barriers and open doors that were once closed to our students is very inspiring. Today's presentation of how AI, specifically OpenAI's ChatGPT, can transform the learning experience for non-English mother tongue students in higher education by overcoming both linguistic and cultural barriers. This study will focus on 3 key areas. The first area is supporting language acquisition, how AI can offer real-time adaptive feedback and helping students learn how to practice English more effectively despite linguistic barriers. The second is enhancing academic engagement, how personalized AI-driven learning can increase motivation and participation for students who may feel disconnected due to language or cultural differences. And third, providing culturally relevant content, how AI can tailor learning materials to reflect students' diverse cultural backgrounds, making education more relatable and breaking down cultural barriers. According to Smith and Taylor 2022, traditional education systems have a valuable opportunity to enhance personalized and culturally relevant instruction for students whose first language is not English. However, these systems often fail to meet the unique needs of non-English mother tongue students, particularly in higher education. This is not due to a lack of trying, but a lack of technology and time. As a result, these students face both linguistic and cultural barriers that can hinder language acquisition, academic engagement, and overall success. While AI tools like ChatGPT offer the potential to provide adaptive, personalized content to support non-English mother tongue learners, there is still limited research on effectiveness of these tools in higher education settings. We need to be better and understand how AI can address the diverse linguistic backgrounds of students and help them overcome the obstacles they face. This proposal highlights how AI can bridge the gap by offering real-time adaptive language support, creating culturally relevant learning experiences, and enhancing academic engagement for students who might otherwise struggle to connect with traditional learning environments. My research focuses on two main objectives. Objective 1 is investigating how AI, specifically ChatGPT, can create personalized and culturally relevant content for non-English mother tongue students. This content will help with both subject learning and language acquisition by adapting to each student's language proficiency and cultural background. And Objective 2 will be exploring how AI tools can improve student engagement and language proficiency. By offering real-time, adaptive learning experiences, AI helps students learn at their own pace, increasing both comprehension and participation and engagement in the classroom. This research holds global importance because it opens doors for students from diverse linguistic and cultural backgrounds. In a world where education is increasingly interconnected, AI can help break down language barriers and offer students across the globe equal opportunities to succeed in higher education, regardless of their mother tongue. As our classrooms become more diverse, it's essential to meet students' unique needs. AI has the power to provide individualized support, opening doors to greater academic success and future opportunities. In my research, I'm using a combination of qualitative and quantitative methods to explore how AI can open doors for non-English mother tongue students, specifically focusing on how OpenAI tools can enhance language acquisition and academic engagement by delivering personalized, culturally relevant instruction. I will conduct interviews and hold focus groups with educators working closely with non-English mother tongue students. These conversations will help me evaluate how AI tools like ChatGPT can support personalized learning and break down the linguistic and cultural barriers that students face. Through these discussions, I aim to understand how AI can truly open doors to new learning opportunities. Secondly, I will distribute surveys in students' preferred language to gather data on student engagement, language proficiency, and retention when using AI tools compared to traditional methods. This will give me insights on how well AI can meet individual student needs and improve their academic experience, ultimately opening doors to greater success in higher education. Based on the research, I expect three key outcomes. Increased engagement will look like AI tools personalizing the content, helping students engage more deeply in coursework and academic discussions. Improve language proficiency. ChatGPT will adjust responses to match each student's proficiency, supporting their language development over time. And culturally relevant learning. AI will tailor content to reflect the cultural backgrounds of students, making education more relatable and accessible. While AI offers great potential, we must be mindful of the key ethical challenges. Cultural sensitivity. AI-generated content must avoid cultural bias and ensure inclusivity, especially in diverse settings. Data, privacy, and security. With AI collecting data to personalize learning, there are concerns around student privacy. And last, equitable access. We need to ensure that AI tools are accessible to all students across the globe, especially those from underrepresented or low resource backgrounds, so no doors are closed to them. AI tools like ChatGPT truly have the potential to transform education for non-English mother tongue students by providing personalized, culturally relevant content. However, more research is needed to fully explore the long-term impact and address the challenges of ethics and accessibility. Future studies will focus on assessing how AI can improve academic success and language acquisition while ensuring equitable access for all learners. As we move forward with this research, I would love to hear your thoughts, feedback, or questions, and truly appreciate this opportunity to share one of my passion projects with you all tonight at the symposium. So I will go ahead and open it up to any questions that those individuals might have on the chat, or if you wanted to speak into the Zoom.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Spessard. That was an excellent presentation. I am not seeing anything in the chat, so let's just open the floor to questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
So, when you were looking at ethical considerations, I think one of the big things as an instructor that I'm looking at is the misuse of AI. Because obviously that's the biggest problem that we're having, right, as instructors, is that students are using this technology to not do their work. So is that something you're going to look at, or is that not the focus of this study at all?
Yeah, well, the focus of the study will definitely be seeing how we can open doors, but that is definitely something that we'll be looking at. How we can shift not only students' mindsets, but our mindsets as instructors, and how we can support students in using AI as a tool, a partner in the work, a brainstorming platform. One of the things that we've seen is that it is concerning. A lot of us spent a lot of time engaging in research for many years and didn't have this capability. But what we're also seeing is in corporate America, time is not on our side. And so if as educators, we don't find the way to bridge the gap and support students and help them with prompting and using it as a tool, they actually won't be prepared for career. We simply see that technology is breeding more technology. And it's moving exponentially. So yes, it is a concern of misuse, but I think that's a teachable moment. I absolutely do as educators. I think it's time for us to dive in right alongside our students and truly access these platforms so that we can ensure our students are ready for the global world. Thank you for that great question.
And it looks like we do have a question from the chat. What inspired this study?
So I will tell you that for over 19 years serving in public education, everything from a general ed teacher, special ed teacher, principal, director, serving on executive cabinet. At the end of the day, students cannot access their learning, whether it is that they have a disability whether they come in with a different cultural background or a different mother tongue, right? We're seeing the access. The gap is widening. The goal has been to close the gap, but we can see around us that there's inequities everywhere. And especially through the pandemic, we saw that those that were struggling, the gap widened, right? They continued to struggle. And so my passion is twofold. One is access. I believe every student in the world has the right to access their education, right? And I see AI as the great level set if it's used correctly. And so I had the opportunity to retire from public education and come to Westcliff and a little bit more time in my day. And so I thought, you know what? I am going to figure this out, and I need to figure this out for my future grandkids. And so that's where my passion comes every single day, is how do I reshape the narrative and how do we keep up, right? Being at Westcliff has been awesome because I've only seen education from a very small vantage point, which is in California. And so being able to work with students from across the globe, many times we're meeting in class and it's 8 in the morning for one student, right? It might be 9 in the evening for another. And I've seen how difficult it is when you come from a different linguistical cultural background to fully engage and understand the context of the lesson. So I think that me putting my money where my mouth is and getting out there and researching and giving tools to our educators is where I'm called to right now. Thank you for that question.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Very informative, a lot of information there. And you talked about the challenges of the cultural sensitivity, data privacy, security concerns, and all that thing. Going back to the cultural sensitivity, you know, how would you see AI, or how would we use AI to help us learn, or reflect the cultural backgrounds of the students?
Yeah, well, I think there's many companies that are working to package this nicely. But in my own research, one of the things that I'm highly interested is creating our own models, right? So creating in-house private models, creating our own GPTs that we train, right? We train them to know the students' ability levels. We train them to understand the cultural context where those students grew up, right? What values are important to their families. I mean, we can go so deeply. But again, time's not on our side and there's not a whole lot of research, right? So I figure, we need to step up and tackle it one bite at a time. But I know the power is out there. I've personally trained my own GPTs to be my assistant, to do things for me. So I know it's out there. I just want to dive in deeply and work with our community of learners to find out what that magic recipe is. But I know it's possible.
And that would be great addition, to learn or to get access to that tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for the question.
Any final questions? We have about 3.5 minutes left. Oh, how about emotional intelligence? Do you think AI can be trained in that?
Yes, I think it absolutely can. I don't know how close we are to having a model that we could use effectively, but I have read several studies where they are going as far as to code our brainwaves into language models, right? So essentially, it's definitely the power is there, but it's all about the prompting and the human component, right? We can't let it take over. And so we need to make sure that we are ethical, responsible, and that we have a human component in this. We simply can't do it because it's possible, right? There's a lot of factors that we have to look at and make sure that it's good for society.
Right.
Dr. Spessard, maybe you want to watch that movie. It's called Wild Robot.
Ooh, I'll write it down. I have not seen it.
It's for it's for kids cartoons, but you'll love it, and it shows some emotional intelligence in that robot.
Oh my goodness, it's a little frightening, but
Yeah, I just some like Terminator flashbacks, and
yes.
I was like, am I excited by your answer, or am I like surely terrified? So
Yeah, well, we'll be able to know what other people are thinking now, which is pretty frightening when we think about intellectual property and the advances that are taking place. So I know humans have to stay involved. That's what we have to make sure.
yep, absolutely. I think we have time for maybe one final question before it's time to close out the rooms and head back for our final plenary address. If anyone has a final thought they want to share or a question to ask.
Professor, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this
Sorry.
excellent presentation. I agree with you. I think AI can be utilized as an exceptional tool. And given that we're still in the exploration phase, I'm really excited that you're investing your time in doing this. So thank you. My question is around when you're thinking about designing these learning tools for ESL students, are we hoping that it'll become like similar to like an assistant? I know you mentioned that you have your own AI that kind of that assists you. Will it be like a tool that assists them with understanding the context? Is it building in an AI with cultural competency? What are you thinking?
Absolutely. So I think the sky's the limit. What I really want to focus on is a personalized learning model, right, that takes into account that student's strengths, weaknesses, cultural context, and also takes into account their ability and the power to continuously modify the tool, right? So as students grow and adapt, we definitely want to fade out as many supports as possible so that they can have a true experience in learning. But I really don't know. I think this is just kind of the beginning of my research. And I hope it can be as simplistic as that it can run on the background of students' devices and that it can be pre-programmed so that they can have the access. I also really hope that we can preserve our students' mother tongue. I know there's a lot of tendency in our schools while we're trying to preserve their mother tongue. We are pushing for a lot of English language, and therefore they're not learning in both languages anymore. So I think it actually is going to enhance our students' education. I hope that answered your question, and I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it looks like we are going to have the rooms closed in a little bit less than a minute. So if everyone wants to go ahead and start moving on back to the main room where our final plenary address will take place. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Dr. Spessard, for an absolutely amazing presentation. And have a wonderful evening. I'll see you all back in the main room.